Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Glam Reaper Podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Muldowney, aka the Glam Reaper. On today's episode, we are talking all things Taylor Swift. That's all I'm going to say. Let's take it away. Josh and Scott from Titan Titanics. I was about to say from Titan Casket. Welcome to the Glam Reaper Podcast. Please introduce yourselves.
I'm Scott Ginsberg. Live in Boston, Massachusetts. I'm the CEO of Titan.
Excellent.
And I'm Josh. I live out in Seattle along with my wife and our third co-founder, Liz. And yeah, together we're Titan.
Very cool. So I had to almost check that. So don't laugh, but a little fun story about Jen. We do laugh a lot on this podcast. Is so Titan. I'm glad I said that right, just to be sure, because when I was younger, I was on a golf course and I was selling Titleist golf balls, but I pronounced them Titlist golf balls. Needless to say, they were very popular and I sold quite a lot, but I had no clue. Now, I've never heard of anybody calling Titan Titan, but still, I am in America where they say things very differently to Ireland, so I'm glad I got that right. Thank God.
No different.
Tell us. So you're Scott. You're in Boston and you're in Seattle. So, but you guys now is Titan Caskets all over, or is it based in Seattle, or?
So we're based in Boston.
Okay.
And we have 5 warehouses throughout the country, and we distribute from those locations. And Josh is in Seattle, so he's there also. So we do a lot of this back and forth on a daily basis.
Right. And tell me this: what is so different about Titan Caskets in comparison? And by the way, just for my UK and Irish listeners who regularly, we call them coffins. Now, I know a coffin shape and a casket shape are different, but
sure,
it was something I had to learn coming over here is that a casket is more freely used here, terminology. So,
yeah, so
what makes us different is that your question?
Yes.
Well, what makes us different is that you can go to a funeral home today and purchase a casket or purchase all your funeral services. You'll pay a lot of money for that. And you'll go to that funeral home, have the same 6 or 8, 10 caskets tops that's been there for the last 20 years. And with us, you can get 1,000 different models and styles and colors and customize it. And the reason why we can do that, one, we're 50% less expensive than the funeral home. And there's a federal law here in the States known as a funeral rule that was passed in the 80s that gives the consumer the right to purchase a casket and have it sent to the funeral home of your choice. So the law is called a funeral rule. And because of that enables us to sell caskets all throughout the country and save consumers 50% or more. And they can customize it if they want something unique and different, a different way to honor their loved one that you can't get at a funeral home. In the comfort of your living room, you can relax, order the casket, and under no pressure, and you'll get it within a day or two.
Well, I have a few questions, obviously. First of all, if I want a bright pink glittery casket, I can have one. Is what
you can. You can have a purple casket with red interior if you want.
Very cool. Now, question, and maybe Josh, I'll ask you this. What about sizing? I'm from Ireland, as we are all aware, accent or otherwise. We're not massively. It's more of a rarity there that there be
Sure.
differences in sizes. Here in the US, it's more of a issue, in terms of sizes, both in height, width, everything. So tell me, if I'm sitting at home and ordering it from my laptop or my phone, how can I be sure that I get the right one to the funeral home?
Yeah, it's a good question and one we work on every day. I mean, one thing it is different about us is because we're online and have limited showroom space, we have multiple sizes of oversize, all the way up to 44 inches wide in any color you could want, which is something that's very difficult to procure in most of the country. And so that's where we work with both funeral homes and the public to to really personalize those oversized clients. The typical measurement is at the widest part of your body. So you can self-measure either elbow to elbow or shoulder to shoulder. But in most cases, in nearly every case, we want the funeral director involved or somebody, a funeral professional who's working with the family can do an in-person measurement, because it does take some expertise to do that. You do not want that to go wrong, right? You don't want the casket to show up and for the fit not to be right.
Yeah. Believe it or not, I've actually witnessed that, where knees have had to be sort of propped up a little bit in order to, it doesn't happen that, or at least I've never heard of it happening. Maybe there are stories out there of what maybe the public might assume is that limbs get taken off in order to make it fit. I mean, there is some crazy stories out there. Now, so you work with both funeral homes and the public. So for me, I'm not a licensed funeral director. I'm a memorial planner and a celebrant. So if I have a family that comes to me tomorrow and wants to do a memorial, but they need a casket, I could go directly to you guys. I could send the family to you guys. But you do work with funeral homes as well.
That's right. We offer, we have retail prices on the site, but we also offer wholesale rates both to funeral homes, but just as often funeral professionals like yourself. There's lots of people in the community working with families, who can make them aware of Titan, and we offer wholesale rates for that group.
Yeah. And a buyer or a client, I guess you didn't expect to have, had some notoriety recently. Fill us in on that, Josh or Scott, whichever. I don't know who's the bigger fan, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm happy to tell the story, but if you go to a search engine and type in casket, you'll find us. We're really prominent online. So we often sell into movies and film and productions, because there'll be a stagehand or a person on set who finds us that way. And that's what happened here. Somebody placed an order over the summer. They told us for a prominent music production. And so we shipped a copper casket out, not knowing what would happen next. A few months go by, one day, and it was the day after we were in front of the Federal Trade Commission arguing for a modernization of the funeral rule. It was the next day, so we were all coming down from that. One of our employees woke up very early, because we're always here, and she's a big Swiftie, and she saw the video, and she wasn't 100% sure it was us, but she sent it out to the group, and Liz, who I mentioned, who had made the sale, reached out to the production company, and they said, "Yep, that's you.
It's me. Hi."
About an hour later, her Swifties online had posted that here are all the things in this music video, and here's the casket that was in it, and that's from Titan. And so we jumped right on that. And over the next few days, we got just a ton of press. And what was, to us most exciting, like obviously it's a thrill to see one of the more famous, well-liked people on the planet climb out of the casket. But what got us really excited was all of the articles and all the conversation was really about what we stand for, is that families have rights, they have options, and tens of thousands of people became aware of that over the course of days. So whether, there's no way she knew this, but, by choosing that casket, she really, helped push our mission forward.
Yeah.
She helped really shed a spotlight on what we do, essentially.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. And it's funny, I'm not a fan, but one of my best friends is a massive, massive fan. And so we always, we go back and forth and we have our arguments about that. She's just not for me. She just drives me nuts a bit. However, I would shake her hand. A few people out there be like, "Oh, you shake her hand. You're so gracious, Jen." But I absolutely shake her hand. I'd buy her a pint and I would say, "Listen, Taylor, fair play to you," because shining any sort of contemporary star, popular star like her, shining a light on what we as a community do is incredible. And I don't think they realize, and as you kind of said, she wouldn't have realized all that she did for you guys. But it was also, for me, it was not just for you. It was amazing, obviously, to see any startup. For me, I'm, massive supporter of any startup and trying to bring change into a very antiquated industry. To see, you in the spotlight for a while and all that. But it's also about starting those conversations around the dinner table. And, she's got so many young and teenage fans, and, we just did an episode with the British president of the National Association of Funeral Directors, and he's trying to put forward an act on child bereavement as part of the curriculum over there. But it's, the casket being in her video, and all of a sudden all this publicity around it and around the video, and there's always publicity around her, brings those topics to the fore and allows people to start talking about it, and kind of like, well, would you be buried or cremated, and what would your casket look like? And it can sound like almost a menial conversation, like it's a bit, well, how does that really starting the conversation? It is. It's starting it plants little seeds that all of a sudden, if something happens to somebody, well, remember that time she said she wanted to be cremated, so now at least we know that, or whatever it might be. It's these little conversations. So fair play, Taylor. I'll shake your hand.
Yeah, that's what our brand is all. We're out here trying to make these conversations normal and okay to have, because we know how beneficial that is. We talk to families every day who, if they come into the process informed and knowing the wishes of their loved one, whether they buy from us or not, right? That's not what it's about. They have better outcomes, more memorable goodbyes, and just feel better about the process.
Yeah. Pre-planning is a massive thing we stand for in my company. I think it's so important. Even if you just decide burial or cremation or one of the latest alkaline, all the different varieties that are out now. But even if you just say burial or cremation, Mom, which one? It's something so small as that. My mom probably give me a box. No, my poor parents they've been killed off so many times on my podcast. They're like, really? What happened to us this time? No, it's really, really such an important conversation to have. And so can I ask how the two of you and Liz, your third partner, how did the three of you get into this, or how did you form this threesome?
Yeah, sure. I've been in the casket industry for over 20 years. I've been in manufacturing, distributing, and in 2016, I started Titan Casket, saw that there was a need, selling online. I've been selling on Amazon for a while, and I went to Columbia Business School, so hasn't Josh, and I reached out to him, and he was working Amazon in Seattle. So I flew out to Josh and met him a few times, and we had lunch. He had a little napkin. We drew some sketches of his thoughts and what we were thinking about, and after that, we're off to the races, essentially.
Wow. It all starts with a napkin. That's what a lot of brilliant ideas start on a napkin.
And he still has it over his right shoulder somewhere there, I think.
Yeah. It's in a pile.
It's in a pile.
That's amazing. And so what is it just caskets specifically? Are we looking to venture into others? I mean, Josh, I can see an urn behind you, and I think there's one behind you, Scott. I'm not sure. You never know with sort of the zooms and the fake background.
Yeah, sure.
Days, but yeah, what's the product line? Is it going to be
Well, our goal is ultimately to be the digital solution for funerals. But yeah, urns, pre-planning, it's going to expand into other categories.
Oh, very cool. Okay. And Liz is the third partner. How did she factor into everything?
Josh?
So we're married.
That's
So early on, she's downstairs. So she's doing car pickup or school pickup with our three kids. We also have a casket downstairs. But when we, Scott and I met in 20, shortly after she started the business in 2018. But I was at Amazon, and so I was providing counsel and advice, but I had another job. Liz, we'd traveled, and then she was out of the workforce for several years after being an attorney. We were having kids, and she'd done some e-commerce work on the side. And when we were talking about this idea over dinner, she was like, "Hey, that sounds really interesting." And so for a while before I got involved in the business, it was Liz and Scott who were growing it from Amazon. And so she runs all of our operations, all of our customer service. And so if you read the reviews on our site, there's plenty that mention her by name, but the rest sort of mention her by spirit because she runs that team, and it's such a big part of what we do.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, you're only ever as good as your worst team members, they say. So you've got to keep everybody, and especially in in this sort of industry, it can be disheartening. When you're having a bad day, things can seem worse, and life is short. You start to see that, and I'm sure you've probably had your fair amount of smaller coffin or casket requests and stuff where that can hit home. I know we've just done a couple of memorials recently, just suicides and young people, and it's just it can really get in on you if you let it. But that's why I think it's so important for everybody to be around each other and be more of a community. And sometimes it's not always like that. So what is the wildest request you've ever gotten?
Wildest, I've made, let's see, someone bought a casket to make a electric go-kart. That's one of them. He put an engine in it and wheels, and another person made a cooler and with wheels also, so he can pull it behind his motorcycle. Another person made a grill out of one. So he wanted to use that, put his charcoal and cook his ribs and whatnot. What else, Josh?
We just made one for AMC's show Interview with a Vampire.
Actually, oh yeah, that's it. Yeah,
they submitted a custom design which we built, and it sold within about an hour and a half. And we shipped it to a customer outside Philadelphia.
Wow! So like the movie set ones, you'll create it, but then they let you sell it off as well.
So normally we ship to movie productions that use it in the film. This was one they didn't use in the production. They used it as they had a sort of a night market, as part of the promotion of the show, that they were offering vampire-ish items. And so they just created this unique design, and then we, which we can do. We can build it for them and ship right away.
That's very cool, because when I did my book launch back, starting to show my age, 10 years ago now, I kind of had a pseudo funeral, and that was what I wanted the book launch to be. So I had hired the basement of a nightclub, and I was this close to having a casket or coffin there present. But I decided against it. Well, more my mother decided against it for me. I think she was a little too, she was like, this is already enough. Because I had sort of my eulogy, I had some videos that I would want played, I had songs, I had the drink and the food. I mean, essentially what I'm about in a memorial. But yeah, the only thing that was missing was a casket, because I even wanted sort of the drinks to be served on it. I mean, I had all these ideas, but I got poo-pooed by the Irish mammy. So that was that.
The next book.
I've written I'm on book 3 at the moment. So I think that this one could be a good one to have a casket at. But it's good to know that you do these as props as well as obviously real life, to be honest, because I know a lot of people, obviously, in being in New York, there's a film industry here, but I know a lot of people who, whether it's fashion or film and stuff, it's interesting to know that these things are used other than for your final resting place,
Oh yeah, all the time, certainly.
We're just trying to, it shouldn't be a product people are scared of, right? It's again about normalizing conversations. So Scott, in December, brought one to the Gizmodo headquarters in New York, and they did a review of it, just like you would do a normal, iPhone. And so, you use those, just like we did with Taylor Swift, use those pop culture moments when it's okay to talk about this topic.
Yeah.
And try and insert yourself in the conversation.
And just really try to create awareness. That's the key. People know it's out there. We create awareness, and then we try to just educate. And that's the key, because the average person doesn't know in the States that they have that right to purchase a casket and send it to any funeral home.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like the customizing of, I work with both funeral homes, a bit similar to yourselves, and private clients, and we've had canoe caskets. There's people want different things, and they want specific things, and like that, there is a fear. I know when I very, very first started my concept back in Ireland, there was I wanted a photo of, there was a casket, a coffin, again back to standing, propped up, and I wanted a photo of me in it. I was like, this is brilliant, this will make the news tomorrow and everything. I could not get one person to take a photo of me in it. Absolutely refused, because they felt that I was dead if I got into the casket. I was dead. Like, it's so superstitious in Ireland. We are, but people have this fear of it. I mean, I think even in the Kardashians, didn't Kris Jenner, she hopped into a casket, tried one out. Remember? I don't know if you saw that.
No.
We'll look it up after.
Yeah, afterwards. Yes.
No Kardashian.
All right.
Swifties, but we've no Kardashian.
You've reached the limit of our. Oh.
Very interesting. Yeah, no, it's definitely a fascinating thing, and it's not all just goths, and it's not all just sort of people of a certain interest that are fascinated with it, which I think that's why, when I got nicknamed the Glam Reaper in the media, which still cracks me up because I'm no more glamorous than the man on the moon, but anyway, I got nicknamed that because I think people were just shocked. They're kind of like, wait, she smiles and she laughs and she's so positive. I put up a picture of me on my Instagram with I think it's, what's his name, Lurch from the Addams Family, and then just me. It couldn't be more. But it's what the persona is. People don't know. I joke about it. Well, I joke, but kind of not really, about a glittery pink coffin. But it's what people want. There's some incredible casket designers in the UK. I know that started personalizing. With like that race cars and dairy milk, chocolate covers and all sorts of things. Can I ask, do you do environmentally friendly versions of your caskets, or what's your environment stance?
Absolutely. We have a cardboard casket. We have solid wood with no metal in it. So we do have an environmentally. It'll also have a wicker casket.
Okay, very cool. Because that's hugely important, and I think it's only going to go from strength to strength. As people become more environmentally friendly, and as these options like the composting, the natural organic reduction, and alkaline hydrolysis just keep getting more and more traction. So very interesting. Well, guys, it was a pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for entertaining us with these stories and just bringing the idea of the casket / coffin, whoever you're listening from, to the fore. And if there's any Swifties out there, well, they'll know what we're talking about. If you're not, look up Taylor Swift's latest. Oh my God! Actually,
the anti-hero video.
Anti-hero video. Yeah.
It's probably not even her latest video, is it?
No, it was the first one from her latest album, Midnights. Shoot.
Oh, so you're definitely the biggest fan.
The top 10 songs on Spotify. It had all 10 at one point. It was.
She did. Yeah. My God! I mean, she's a machine. Incredible. Fair play to her. Well, thanks a million, guys, and we'll leave all the links and everything below, and we'll watch this space. It sounds like you're just going from strength to strength. That was a nice episode with the two boys, Scott and Josh, talking all things Taylor Swift. I hope you enjoyed that episode, and maybe it opened your mind to what casket you would like, or coffin, depending on what part of the planet you're listening to us from. So maybe let us know. Glam Reaper Podcast at gmail.com. That's Glam Reaper Podcast at gmail.com, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.